Well, first of all, what did you think of that penalty call late in the game there?
Well, I mean, we had some times we talked to Russ about them having legal contact on us in the last play that the guys all over said, right? It's unfortunately a challenge, but yeah, we can't leave it in the rest of it.
Just overall, what do you think was the biggest difference maker?
Well, you look at them, I think they completed like 80-some%. They were dinking and dunking, just playing small ball, and they ran the football, right? So we knew we had to stop the run, we had to establish the run. Us running for 8 yards, that ain't getting it done. I don't think I've ever been a part of a game where we had less than 10 yards rushing. So, get down on the goal line, the 1 yard line, can't get a yard. And our O-line struggled today. I mean, I thought the other guys on offense played pretty well.
And it's not often you see special team touchdowns, 2 for more than 90 yards. I mean, it's early in the game, but how much did that impact you?
It was huge. I mean, we gifted them 3 touchdowns, right? 2 on special teams and then the fumble. We're not playing good enough football to overcome some of that stuff. But we had a chance at the end. Just didn't make enough plays. But, our special teams units, we got to find ways to get better. A lot of missed tackles out there.
And how did you think Nick played today?
He did a good job. He gave us a chance to make some plays. I thought he managed the game other than the one pick when we were field goal range. He could have got some 3 points, and instead, it's still a 6-point game. So they'll learn from that one. Obviously, we can't have that. We learn how to manage the game a little bit better.
Ryan, I just wanted to ask, because coming out of halftime, it was looking really bleak for the Argos, but what advice or what motivation did the players have to come out for that second half to have that resilient effort that they did tonight?
Yeah, they were disappointed in the first half effort, right? Put ourselves in a tough spot. I said, hey, guys, we got 30 minutes to find a way. Trust we can get it done, right? And I don't think they lost belief. Unfortunately, we just didn't make enough plays. We had an opportunity to win that game. And, I thought they fought hard. But, yeah, we got to do a better job stop and run, obviously establish the run game. 8 yards ain't going to get it done.
And then just next one from me. Obviously, with all the receivers that have been playing well tonight, what decision went into getting Hergy more involved in the lineup? Did you just want to get another receiver involved, or has he shown you enough throughout the season, whether it be a practice or in some game spots, that he's earned the trust of you to get those extra reps?
Who are you talking about? I missed who you were talking about. Sorry. You talking about Hergy?
Hergy.
Yeah, well,
Hergy,
Kevin went down. Kevin went down.
I was just wondering,
but Hergy,
what's he done to impress you?
Yeah, Hergy's a good football player. That's why we brought him in. We want to get him on the field a little bit more than we had in the past, but Hergy can play ball. I had him in Calgary. He was a good player there. So we feel like all our receivers can get it done.
Frank Stanici.
Hey, Coach, you tried something different with Mital tonight. You went deep.
Yeah, I thought we had a chance for Kevin. We had a few other ones, and then he got hurt. I think we'll see what happens this week, but I think our receivers showed up and made some plays. Right, it was tough. We're throwing the ball every down, so I thought those guys fought hard.
How do you cancel out a guy like Jefferson who consistently at the end of the game there knocked down balls?
Yeah, Willie took the game over. We didn't do a good job blocking him, but he kind of just sat there and spied and looked at bat balls and the O-line. If we can get our hands on him, get his hands down. We can stop that. But, Willie's a good player, Hall of Famer. I thought he played well tonight.
Late in the game there, I mean, the pressure that you were feeling from the defense and particularly that familiar face, Willie Jefferson, how were you feeling him in particular?
Oh, man, they were so good up front. Willie, looked like prime Willie. Every time, I feel like he's in the backfield, either hitting me, making sure that, after I throw it, he's grabbing on and making sure I know he's there, tipping the passes as he's getting penetration. But the other guys too, Vaughters did a really great job on the other edge. Their interior rush was great with 94. They have a great group and, a good secondary that, you're being all the time. They do a good job of taking away things early.
On a 2-yard line. He tripped over your foot on his way on that second chance, did he not?
Yeah, he did. It was unfortunate with the mesh there. If we're running back, he's only been here, 2 weeks, and so it's hard. A lot of those things take time and take repetition, things like that. I didn't really get a chance to see it on film, so I don't know exactly what happened, to cause it. But, at the end of the day, if you get to the 1 yard line, you don't score. That's it. So
overall, the takeaway from that, because was quite a wide lead they had, then you guys came back.
Yeah, I think at that point we were down 11. So, we scored a touchdown there. There'd be back-to-back touchdown drives to start the second half. And, all of a sudden we're like a field goal down, 3 or 4 points, depending on what we do after the touchdown. So, obviously a game-changing play, but we still had chances throughout the game. Our defense did such an incredible job, giving us opportunities after opportunities to, potentially, win the game at the end. And fortunately, we couldn't capitalize.
And how much is Coxie becoming a real favorite target for you?
He's definitely just one of the absolute best receivers in the entire league at so many different things. There's not just one thing that he does well. It sucks they took away that big play from him at the end. Obviously, we don't believe that was a penalty. He has a right to go get the football, and the DB's trying to box him out from it, like it's a basketball play, which obviously isn't legal. So, it's tough. Now you don't ever always get the breaks going in your direction, but his effort, his ability, time after time, keeps giving us chances.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, thank you. Limit your questions to one and a follow-up, please, and we'll start with Frank Stanici.
Good game, not a great result. Your offense was pretty consistent today. How happy are you with excluding some of the situations that happened outside of the offense? How happy are you with the offense today?
I love the way we battled back. Coming from like a 3-score deficit at halftime. I think we're down 21 points going into our last drive before the end of the half. And to be able to battle back into the game right away with the help of you can't come back without a defensive performance too, because you can't just trade scores to, close a 3-deficit lead. So our defense did just as incredible, allowing us to get back in the game offensively. But we also can't start like that. I think we had 3 or 4 drives in a row, without a first down. Early on we get to the, I think 50-yard line off of them kicking out of bounds. I think that was our 3rd or 4th drive. And then we, start off with a 10-yard penalty to put us even further back when we finally had good field position. So, you can't start a game like that and put yourself in a huge hole because then, you're stuck throwing the ball every single down. The defense knows that, the D-line knows that, and, that makes it tough for everybody.
What was the most important changes you made on the discussion at halftime coming up for the second half?
It was, throwing the ball, I think, on first down helped, but you can't just at the same time, part of that's the deficit. You can't just go into a game and concede that we're not going to be able to run the football or do anything, so we're just going to throw it 50 times right from the first play of the game. You can't do that. So you got to try to establish a run in some facet, and unfortunately it wasn't getting going for us for whatever reason. And so we had to pivot, and our receivers are tremendous, and they made some great plays consistently, getting first downs on first downs, keeping us out of the second down conversion, and that really got us rolling there in the 3rd quarter.
Safe travels home, Nick.
Appreciate it.
Let's go to Dave Morisuti. Dave.
Hey Nick, how frustrating is a loss like this, considering there were opportunities for you guys to kind of take over the game or find a way to come back? I know you guys were close, but it felt like there were moments where you were able to put yourselves in a better position. Yeah,
one of the most frustrating things are those tip passes at the line of scrimmage by D-line. They had to have at least 6 or 7 of them in total. I think Willie had 4 or 5. Because as a quarterback, you can't think about that. Like, you can't look for the defensive lineman, because if you're looking at the pressure, you're definitely not looking at the coverage, and you're not making any throws. So you kind of have to see through that. And, quite a few of those tip passes at the line of scrimmage were, targeted to receivers that got open, possibly second down conversions, keep our drives going. And just to see those balls just, get tipped at the line and fall to the ground and us have to walk out the field. It's frustrating seeing, these receivers winning their routes or concepts are working, and, we just can't get the ball to them. It gets credit to them. They did a great job getting in the passing lanes. I don't think I've ever had that many passes batted down. Maybe get one a game. And it felt like it was one a drive, especially in that 4th quarter, that kept us from being able to, put some drives together. And, it's frustrating.
What happened? There was that one play at the goal line where it seemed like you got kind of mixed up with the running back there. Just kind of just miscommunication where the play was going, or just an unfortunate your feet kind of got tangled up.
It's just unfortunate how our feet got tangled up. I haven't been able to really watch the film to see what happened exactly. Um, it was a same side handoff, kind of a misdirection kind of handoff. And those are things you don't do super often, but it was a good part of this game plan that we knew was going to work. And but because it's not something you do very often, you don't get a ton of reps at it. And unfortunately, me and Laybourne have only had about 2 weeks or so together, working the handoffs and things like that. So however it happened, it wasn't great, but also at the same time, that was second down and goal. We shouldn't have been in a second down after we had a first down and goal from the one. So, it's definitely a heartbreaking kind of sequence there once we got down there.
Thanks, Nick. Safe travels.
No problem.
And final questions from Griff. Griff?
Nick, I asked Ryan just about how did you guys turn around the first half effort into the second half effort that nearly led to victory. He mentioned how disappointed you guys were with the first half. So I just wanted to ask you, how do you guys turn that disappointment into motivation to say to the room, hey, we can do this, we can come back?
We got to, I think when the game gets down to our passing game, our receivers, they're so talented, they're so good, all 5, 6 of them. And when we get in moments like that, we've shown it this whole season. When we get down, us QBs and receivers, we see we got to put this game in our hands now. We're going to get drop back passes on first down. This is our opportunity. And we really relish those moments to kind of try to put the team on the back, per se, just utilizing the passing game. And it works. We had done a great job all season. But at the same time, you can't just live in that world. So, you see those things work late in games, and, some people, might think, well, why don't we just do that all the time? But, you can't just not have any, run game and any like physical presence. It's not how you win football games, long term. It's definitely not how you win, come wintertime when the games, are critical and important and you're playing in the snow. If you can't be physical up front and establish a run game, you're going to have, trouble time winning a Grey Cup. And that's, ultimately what we need to do. So we got to find a way to, be balanced. But, in those moments, our receivers can really take over again.
And then just another one for me. Obviously, moving the page to next week, you have Ottawa coming into town. They got a win last week, so you guys have a even record now. How do you move past this so quickly just with the disappointment of tonight and know that, hey, next Saturday's game went from being a game where it's like, hey, we could win this great, but now it's we win or lose this, it could really come back to hurt us come a couple months from now, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have a division opponent that you only play twice in the season, I think we only play them twice, right? Ottawa. Yeah, so, we got the first win and you want the tiebreaker. In the East, when, 3 or 4 teams at the end of the year make the playoffs, you want to make sure you have tiebreakers, wherever you can. As you battle it out for 18 games, a lot of those records get pretty close down the stretch. So it's a very critical game, not just for right now and what it means for our team to go 1-0, get our 3rd win and try to get back on track. But also just long term when you're looking at playoff races and standings a couple months from now, you need those tiebreakers.